really, you know what would be a really, really, really fun room on Chatter? The Lee Wanta scandal.
How we separate rich.
Well, if anybody in Clubhouse wanted to do send Nelson back to Nigeria room, I'll come in. Ping me and I'll see when I'm around. Nelson doesn't Nelson's been in this country like 6 years. And what he's doing, he's not being an anarchist. He's creating complete chaos. And, I guess he didn't pay somebody, and yesterday they came on the app with Cindy Stappo and went psychotic.
Lee Wanta scandal. Thank you. Lee Wanta scandal. Ask him about that.
Well, I'm not talking to him. What scandal is that? I mean, and it's like over the line of danger now. But what scandal is that?
Roger?
Which scandal are we referring to, Dr. Adams? I'm sorry, I missed it.
The Lee Wanta scandal. Bilking billions of dollars out of, white people in Florida.
You want to expand on that?
Nigerian scams?
Is Nelson involved in that?
What kind of scam is that? Is that celebrity scam?
Look it up. Look it up.
Can you guide me through it?
Is he involved in that? Do you have any facts of him being involved in that?
No, of course not. I mean, I'm not allegedly, equating him to that scandal. But again, look up that said scandal.
So, I had 5,000 people in Clubhouse, and then Nelson went and created Chatter. Nelson keeps coming onto Clubhouse trying to steal Clubhouse's audience. If I was the CEO of Clubhouse, I would be really pissed off at Nelson. And I would ban him from coming in here. I mean, somebody's got to put some, American wake-up call on what this guy's doing, because it's not safe. It's getting where it's full-on ghetto now. When I guess last night they all brought their guns out on their videos. That's fucking insane. And I land. Thanks for letting me talk. Thank you.
Dr. Mojo, since you are the premier green bean, I would just ask that, as the super producer, if at any moment you want to make a request, during the show today or tomorrow, and you say, okay, you know what, John or somebody else in the room, give us chillism, give us, this show, give us that show, or give us a random sample, just to break it up.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do is we'll have a regular room where we talk, and then people can say, hey, here's a subject, here's a topic in another room, maybe we check on that. And then when we do it, once we do bring the stream in, everybody needs to remain on mute so we can hear the stream. This is where we need to get, we'll have a culture in here of, if we want to stop it, we'll get a GIF, and then if more than 50% of the stage wants to stop the stream, then we'll indicate the stop. If it's good, we'll just let it go. Maybe we'll even have an indication of keep it going, and then we'll have a universal signal when we want it to stop, and then when we stop it, then we'll discuss it. We'll go around the room. We'll talk about it. And then if we want to tap back in and listen to it some more, we can do that. If we want to check in a different room, we'll do that. But we're going to have to get visual cues, not audio cues, of when we're done with the content. That way you would know, okay, you can stop now.
I think also putting a survey, once we know the names of the shows that we're rebroadcasting, that we have a survey, what's your favorite show out of the 4 selections that we've been sampling?
That's a good idea. And then if we do tap into a debate, we'll definitely let people here decide who won their debate. And then we could give a feedback loop to them of hey, congratulations. The people in the muff believe that so-and-so won the debate. And then it'd be a nice little, it's almost like publishing a voter guide. Lance, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Also, don't forget tomorrow, if you are in the muff with us and you are part of this live rebroadcast experience, we may call you out and need your help to go into these rooms and alert them that they're being rebroadcast in this room. Your active participation is desperately needed. Without your help, you won't maximize the experience and have as much fun as you can, and this room won't be as popular and as big as it will be. So please, your participation will be required and needed.
Yeah, I think this is going to be fun. I think we'll also have to have some firm rules, like, for this room. Typical stuff that we already agreed to, like no doxing and no threats and that sort of thing. So when we're critiquing people, I think we should, I almost feel like we should play the critique straight. Like, the comedy is going to be what we stream, and then we could be the straight men and women, and we could critique it in an honest way, and then we can go back to the comedy that they provide to us. I don't think we need to add humor, a layer of humor over top of this, because the humor will be provided for us.
5 p.m. What time zone is that?
That's Pacific. I will have different times. I'm going to schedule them on different days at different times, just to make sure we can start getting a snapshot of different people and their availability, so they can understand what's going on. Once we build the culture and the awareness that it's happening, then we'll standardize on a particular time that works best for most.
You're non-black, correct?
No, she's not.
I have a feeling we're going to find new favorite rooms. That's what I believe is going to happen. We're going to tap into a room, and it's going to be like, holy shit, where has this room been all our life? I think that's what's going to happen here. We're going to be scouring the app to find content, and we need everybody's help to do this.
Now, some people may not like this new format. I have a feeling we're going to be kind of chasing the dragon, in the sense that a lot of this is very boring. And so this is not a compression of the best clips. Again, this will be live. This isn't going to be like a day of recordings from yesterday and the best of the best. But my point in doing this is that what's the fucking difference? It's the same stupid shit. You're just listening to it in this room.
Many different devices. Like, what's your goal? How many rooms are you going to? Like, what's your record for recording simultaneously?
I did a 3 studio recording session where I had 3 rooms being recorded live on multiple devices in different rooms of my house, or actually 4 different rooms in my house.
I think the White America rooms might provide some interesting content for us.
And I want to let everybody know this could be a grand finale type show. Like tomorrow, I will dedicate the morning to doing this, but this is basically the summary of my research project. This is like my thesis statement being submitted for my PhD. So this is the end of it. Like tomorrow will be a blowout, and I very much doubt we will do the same show. Maybe we'll do it this whole week. I don't know how hard it's going to draw me in, but this is what I've been doing for many years now. We're only doing what we've always been doing, but pull that curtain away, and we're going to find out, who the Wizard of Oz is.
Lourdes, what do you, I'm going to get back to the anarchy thing. What do you think would be different in terms of the crime rate. Do you think the crime rate with no police force, do you think it would go up or go down?
I mean, who would actually record it?
Well, let's just say there was an independent third party that did a survey.
How Mojo? All right. How about this? Let's say in a corporation, communist ideology, specific territory within this ideology, right? It would vary, but I don't think the crime rate would be high in those territories. But in the neutral zone, it would vary. Again, I mean, it would be difficult to try to record all of the deaths in the neutral zone, especially if nobody's going to really clean up the place. But I think it might be lower in a specific territory.
Who do you think would fare better, lefties, righties, or centrists?
Centrists.
Well, how would they fare better?
Is the question no law and order at all, or just local police, or no FBI, or what? All law enforcement gone? So, all right. So, from what I'm talking about with my ideology, belief system, or ideology, corporations, religion, cults, ideologies, all of them, they're all able to control land and territory. They're able to have their own form of military, and police force is mainly based on currency, population, and weapon of technology that they have to defend their specific ideology. Neutral zones, obviously, it's like Wild West in some way. Just people just mind their own business.
You realize that in the Wild West they had sheriffs, right?
Oh, yeah. But I'm not saying like that. I'm just saying it as a hypothetical.
Right, but you referenced the Wild West, and I'm just suggesting that if you take like Tombstone, Arizona, the shootout at the OK Corral, all of that started with the sheriffs taking the guns from certain people. So law enforcement had some pretty strict rules back then. So why would you compare anarchy to the Wild West?
I'm talking about the neutral zones in a way of, I mean, there's no way you can really force someone to give them your guns unless, I don't know, you had like a implanted a nuke within you or something. Then it's like, well, if you kill me, it doesn't matter who's going to come out of this or not. But
well, that brings up another question that we've asked Bima, and I'd love to get your answer on this. Over 5,000, probably closer to 6,000 nuclear warheads. In your world, who would possess those?
Everyone.
Well, not everyone could have one because there's 350 million people in this country, and there's only let's call it 5,500 warheads. So not everybody gets one. So what's the more accurate answer? Who actually gets these?
Again, it's a free-for-all. So, I mean, all right, first off, I guess if, let's say, we were going to go through a thorough hypothetical, in the beginning, people are going to be buying them. Some people are going to be selling them.
But who has them to sell them? Because, like, right now, they're, like...
Military.
Oh, so the military will either keep them or sell them?
Correct.
And you think that's a good development?
Yes.
Corporations
could also purchase the warheads, too.
So you're pro-nuclear proliferation?
Yeah. Look, the type of ideology I'm speaking of, if you view it like Warhammer 40K mixed with Terminator, times 100.
Anybody have any other questions for Lordness? Do you guys think that this sounds like an attractive place to live, where the military sells nuclear weapons to whoever they want?
Sorry, just a question. Would Iran as well be one of the countries that can have nuclear weapons?
Wait, Iran?
Yes, Iran.
I mean, look, my ideology isn't for the world; it's only for the U.S.
But what if one of these military guys that's
if they do,
what if he wanted to sell it to somebody in Iran? Would that be okay?
Look, it's their choice. If they do, they do. But I highly doubt they're really going to succeed in any way with one warhead when this ideology has a very massive competition of war and technological technological growth to the point that they are capable of destroying the planet if they are losing their territory.
Well, again, you never cease to amaze me with your bad ideas. Anthony, just to catch you up on what's going on here, Lordness, who's an anarchist, when he was asked the question, who would get the nuclear weapons if we had complete anarchy, and he said that the military would have them, and it would be their choice to keep them or sell them. And he indicated that it would be their choice if they wanted to sell these weapons to a nation state like Iran.
I mean, nuclear weapons is sorry, go ahead, man.
Nah, Moose, it's all good. This idea that the military, what I look at, I look at self-interest, and it would not be in the military's self-interest to do anything like that, bro. It makes fundamentally no sense whatsoever. So I have to vehemently disagree with your assessment.
So you think that the military is its own, in this hypothetical then, all right, wait. How would the military actually progress in this ideology?
How do we go from one share of Wild West to nuclear weapons?
They're also going to go against corporations that could probably make worse things.
In society breakdown, the military, they have guns, butter, training. They're going to be the ruling class like they are in a lot of countries when there's a military coup. If we have anarchy, they and their loved ones will be well taken care of. If they can't produce it, they'll take it. It's just that simple. With them selling nuclear weapons makes no sense whatsoever.
I wonder what Brent has to say about this. Brent, Lordness says that in his desired state of affairs, the government would not exist and anarchy would prevail. And when he was asked about nuclear weapons, he said that the military would just keep them and they would be free to sell them if they'd like. So if you were a submarine captain and you had a submarine and the nukes that are on board, you could keep them or you could sell them. What do you think of Lordness' idea about this?
Well, I mean, taking it slightly more seriously and going back to the roots of anarchy and this kind of thought of elimination of the state, nuclear weapons are a great example of why you can never actually go towards political anarchy. See, because you frankly need that hierarchical control with something but like nukes, because you have to have one voice to watch it. You have to have, that deterrent effect. And there's just no way out of it now that, we have over 3,000 nuclear weapons. So, it's like responding to Cinderella and the magic, or the Magic Kingdom. I mean, it's not worth responding to, besides the fact that, to point out that, political anarchy was always unfeasible, but in the modern world, nukes are an example why is it especially unfeasible now.
So what if we got some of this a lot simpler, like old technology, like the railroad? Lordness, who would you've got a railroad that goes across the country. It could be for passengers, it could be for freight. In an anarchy society, when you don't have the organization of these things, what would happen if the people, let's say in Montana, decided, hey, we're going to build a bowling alley here, right where the tracks were. We're going to take the tracks out, and they just completely destroyed the train system. Who would stop them from doing that?
Nobody.
So you wouldn't be able to have a transportation method that crosses the country, such as roads or railroads.
I mean, there's other methods besides trains. If let's say we go down this route, I mean, look at my PTR. Back to that, the military selling the nukes and all that. Would they really be capable of fighting something like this in the PTR? An army of these, probably made from mad scientists creating all these different experiments and weapons and all that within a matter of days, because there's no regulation to stop them from creating it. Especially when they have the money and time to do so in corporations.
I'm trying to understand your point here. Can somebody help me with the translation?
No.
I believe he's saying without the government, weapons are going to advance at a much faster rate than they are currently advancing.
Not just weapons, technology, transportation, every form of thing will advance to the point that no other country around the world would not want to fuck with this country. No way. Because then, I mean, let's just say if the whole world united against this one country, with all these different ideologies and corporations and all that, I mean, it could go down to either the specific ideology winning that war, or if we're close to losing it, might as well destroy the whole planet.
That doesn't sound like a good strategy to me, but let me ask you this. Who would coordinate the Navy? Because that's one of our big advantages when it comes to global supremacy and warfare. Who would control our Navy?
It would vary in the ideology that has control of a massive Navy.
That did answer my question.
All right, then let's say Amazon, right? Let's say if Amazon was able to mass produce a Navy, a strong Navy.
And what would you do? You would transfer warehouse workers into soldiers?
If they have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lordness from Chillism.
Well, I wasn't originally there. I used to listen to your rooms a long time ago, I think a year ago.
Did you have these ideas back then?
Yeah.
Got it. So, do you think that chillism is a cult?
Somewhat. I know a lot of cults. They're not 50-50, but not fully.
Got it. Do you feel like chillism has a Scientologist rhetoric?
I don't know. I mean, like, it's a little bit mixed in there.
Got it. So you don't see like an undertone of Scientology?
Not that I know of, or I can comprehend.
David, welcome. We're just talking to Lordness, who is walking us through this very well thought out philosophy of his called anarchy. And he was explaining to us who would possess the nukes, how life would just go on if there was no railway or interstate roads, how we would protect against foreign invasions if we have no coordinated navy. It's fascinating stuff, Dave. John, who do you think is a better presenter of ideas, Bima or Lordness, when it comes to anarchy? Anyone want to answer? Okay, the whole room's got silent. Perfect, amazing.
I've only been to Chillism today. I haven't been there before. But I'm extremely fascinated by this character Lordness, because I think, I mean, are you actually trolling? Tell me the truth.
Oh no, I'm not. I mean, I'm writing a story on this novel too, or on this ideology too. So I mean, either way.
Are you completely mad?
I mean, you can say whatever you want and make as much claims as you want, but it's just my belief system.
Okay.
After all, I do believe in the multiverse.
Oh, right, okay. And, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't need to ask anything else. Thank you.
Okay, Lordness, you have me on multiverse, sir. Now my interest is peaked. And I was in the store, I couldn't answer Mojo's question. I think he said who's the better speaker or the best presenter of their ideology, Bima or Lordness. I would have to say Lordness. He's very descriptive with his narrative. It's well thought out. As fantastical and insane as it is, I have to give him credit for the creativity he's put into this chaotic, deathly world that he wants to live in, where there are no laws, no rules, rape, murder, the children aren't safe, the women aren't safe. So, and then you added the multiverse as icing on the cake. So I guess you would win in the battle between your narrative and Bima's narrative.
I think that's a good point, because Bima typically just says, I support ideas where you cannot initiate force or coercion onto another person or people. And then when you ask her for specifics, she has nothing. So at least Lordness engages with us and tells us what he thinks that this might look like.
I mean, I'm just giving you guys the little things that you guys are asking questions about. I'm not giving the full-on, in-depth detail of it.
Who would make the rules?
Now, alright, this is still a little bit of a weird, iffy part. Think of it like the Illuminati. Think of it like the Illuminati, but a little bit more like its own military force that has the most advanced technology in every way to defend this ideology. Now, laws and all that, I mean, it would vary on the territory, but mainly that military force of the Illuminati, hypothetical military force and all that, that would be the portion of the ideology that would defend the specific ideology if either one of the ideologies was a majority of the whole state or country, or if a nation attempts, or all nations attempts to go against this specific ideology.
But isn't that kind of antithetical to the whole point?
They're not enforcing laws. They're only there just to let it keep it going.
But by virtue of that, they are enforcing laws.
Honestly, I'm not getting what you're asking.
If the purpose of them is to defend the ideology, that seems to me to be a system of governance.
See, this is like a little bit of the effy part, because they're not really, because there's no main government because of all the different ideologies, the corporations, let's say communism, if Amazon was his own form of military and defense force and all that. There's so many forms of ideology within their own territory as societies and different forms of currency. Like it expands to a larger picture. Like this specific force doesn't involve itself with any form of the land or territory. It's just like think of like a spire. It's just a little spire that's just empty and void, nothing at all. And let's just say if one of the ideologies took control of the whole country, or let's say if the whole world was to go against this country, this military force would be capable of going against the whole world and or the specific ideology.
How does this military fund itself?
I mean, mainly taken from the other ideologies through back deals.
Ideologies have bank accounts.
Yes, I mean, different forms of currency.
Kind of sounds like taxes.
I mean, some could have taxes, some wouldn't.
Who would have the authority to collect taxes?
So if, let's say, the corporation had taxes, obviously they would have their own form of police force and military to collect the taxes. Or an AI system that automatically collects the taxes within the territory.
So, in our current state, we have a constitution, and we have a legal basis to say that we're going to collect these taxes. What would be the basis that gives this company the authority? And what if a competing company comes along and says, "No, give the taxes to us. We're better"? What's to stop that?
I mean, they'd have the right to do that.
Yeah, I mean...
So would you have to pay taxes to every corporation?
Not everyone. No, not everyone. I mean, because they all vary. I mean, wherever you choose to live, it's good.
Anybody.
I mean, you don't have to, but they might kick you out or force you to do work.
Lourdes, do you think this is a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, you've been asking me this a couple times.
No, I've asked you what your ideas are, but I'm asking you if you think it's a good idea. I mean, like, it's one thing to come up with an idea. Like, there's another to come up with good ideas. Do you think this would optimize human flourishing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So Mojo, I just been wise. So when you were talking about Wild Wild West before, and yes, there is law enforcement, albeit at a very low scale. Do you think, like the Deadwood Age and all that, like, the new sheriff in town, would it be fair to say that not all homicides were accounted for or even remotely pursued?
Yeah, I actually heard these comedians talking about this, where they were saying that in the Wild West, somebody could go and kill somebody, rob a bank, whatever it is, and then they can, then they draw a wanted poster, and so the only wanted poster is this image of what he looked like. Let's say he's wearing a particular type of hat, and let's say he has a mustache. He can get rid of the hat, shave his mustache, and then just go become a sheriff in another town. Like, there's definitely a lawlessness. It's amazing.
Deadwood is a fantastic show, though. I'm actually rewatching it. It's been a number of years.
It was so unfortunate that they didn't get the natural conclusion to that show. The movie that they made years later was just not up to the standard of the show.
It was bad, yeah. Yeah, Swerenzer. Sucker Swerenzer.
Yeah, no, I think the Wild West was an interesting thing. I actually think that
Kima, why do you gotta kick Mojo out like that? That's rude.
I wasn't even a mod until he left. His battery died or something. He probably got a dead battery. He'll be back.
Does anyone have other questions, or mainly just Roger asking the questions?
Well, my thing is, sir, I'm not entirely. Oh, hold on. Lordness, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely convinced that you would want to live in this world unless you live in a castle with a moat, a fortress of somehow, because I don't think you'll be able to. I mean, you would have to have a pretty solid some weaponry to protect you and yours, right? Because I don't think that you alone. You would have to have an army of darkness to fend off the rabid personalities who would come and want to rape and pillage your property. So I don't know. Do you have what does your army of darkness look like, sir? Because you're definitely going to need one. And also, here's the really important question: are there zombies in this apocalyptic world where anarchy rules?
Now, if a ideology does create zombies somehow, sure. But I highly doubt that's a possibility. If anything, it's all going to be cyborgs or clones or mutation creatures, some type of infection that could create biomass and all that.
The cyborgs and clones, I forgot about them. So yeah, what if the cyborgs go rogue? Humans are no match to cyborgs, sir.
Well, that's where you gotta improve yourself in any way possible to go against them.
Improve yourself? Like more push-ups?
No. I mean, like having cybernetics and all that. Going full blown, like just doing whatever it takes to improve yourself in any way.
In a world without police, I don't think it'll be as violent as people think it is. I think the police. I think the police actually perpetrate violence because people think they know they can do certain shit and they protect it to a certain extent. So, like in a world without police, it'll be more respect than people think.
You think police are worse than armies of darkness?
Oh my! Look. I mean, with Kima, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, like it's in the beginning, it's gonna be like the Purge. It's in any form of ideology change, it's gonna be chaotic. Probably not as chaotic as the ideology I'm for, but over time,
it more. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Over time, it will just calm down, and then it's just I'm minding my own business. You fuck with me, we're gonna see how that goes.
I agree. I think Akima's honest. I think the shock value will, of course, it's not going to be overnight. People, of course, will take advantage of whatever for a while, but then a lot of criminals actually literally live on the thrill of cortisol and adrenaline, of being smarter than outsmarting the police and all that. I think it'll go back to truly it takes a village, not just to raise a baby, but to look after your neighbor. I mean, at the end, when the Italians and Jews came over to New York, fun fact, the Jews and Irish started their organized syndicates in New York before the Italians. And the Italians were like, all right, you don't want us, we'll create our own neighborhood. And of course, Hollywood took it from there. But they literally did. They looked over neighborhoods, albeit for a nominal fee to keep your store safe from getting burglarized. But I think, really, at the end of the day, wherever one lives, see something, say something. How often do you feel that if you're walking down the street, you see somebody in trouble, someone will, a bystander will try to intervene on some level?
Folks don't like to intervene today. A lot of people like to mind their own business when they see people are in distress or being harmed. It takes a real true hero to want to help, someone vulnerable. And we seemingly are growing population of weaklings, beta male mentality, folks who just want to mind their own business, look the other way. They don't want to get involved because they think if they get involved, they're putting themselves in harm's way. So I don't know. In Lordness's world,
unless they want to film it, they'll film it before they get involved.
You read my mind, David. Exactly. That's it. That's their way of them getting involved. But the thing is that you don't have to be the hero. You don't have to jump in and physically put yourself in danger or make yourself vulnerable. It's actually courses. It's like nonviolent bystander, interference or something. Where literally, on the average, if you're across the street and you just start yelling like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing over there?" 9 out of 10 times, the perp, the attacker, will run off like a scared rabbit. You don't have to run over there to be the hero and beat somebody up. In fact, the only time I've ever been jumped in my life, late at night, walking the streets, coming out of a bar, these guys jumped me. They didn't even want my money because they threw a bottle at me. They were just coming out of some strip club, and I was like, "What the fuck?" One of them, they jumps out of the car, runs over to me, and I'm like, whoa, dude, like, I'm not looking for, before he got the sentence out, he knocks me to the ground, and some random dude happened to be across the street. He's like, "Hey, you okay over there? What the hell's going on?" And sure enough, the rat ran away.
Well, but I think in Lordness's world, if you say, "Hey, what are you doing over there?" you might get popped in the damn head, right? So I don't know. I'm not sold yet. I don't want to live in this world that Lordness is painting, because I just think, criminals know that there are now, in real life, criminals know that there are real life consequences to their criminality. If there's no judges, jury, and executioners, I think folks will run rabid. There would be death and destruction for years to come. I disagree with this theory that there would only be violence initially and that it would quell off somehow. I don't know. The modern day human is insanity. We want to be that violent. We're so far removed from spirituality, God, emotions, right? And if there's no one there to check us, then we will fully maximize this free will, this so-called free will that we have, and unleash, our nefarious ideas and ideologies onto the next human. So I don't know, Lordness.
Hey, Matt, the reason why, what I think, like you said, there's no one to check you. Like it will be at that point. Like people will check each other. Because right now, a criminal have an advantage. One, he's not afraid to go to jail, and you know that your retaliation is not. You're not going to retaliate, especially not to the degree that you're going to go harm one of his loved ones. But in that reality, people know that if I do something to you, you're not just. There's no jail. The retaliation, you're gonna come after me, my family. So like it's gonna be more of a reality. There's not gonna be protection from the police for the criminals have the advantage. Everyone's gonna have the same attitude. If you come fuck with me, I'm gonna come fuck with you and your family, and that's gonna keep a lot of people in check.
Well, I also think we would have to, in that case, we would have to have like these communities or compounds of people who want to maintain civility, right? I think in the world that Lordness is painting, humans, your average human would be very scared because they don't know the motive of those they encounter out in the street. You don't know if the person you encounter will kill you, pray for you, pray with you, join you in the rebellion, steal your shit, right? Or if they are checkable. So I think in this world that Lordness is painting, you would have to, I always like to say your vibe attracts your tribe. If you are the type of person that needs law and order and you want to live a very peaceful, soft kind of life, free from murder, robbery, chaos, etc., you would have to find like-minded people and build communities with them, a gated community, a fortress around this community so that the weirdos and the killers don't penetrate. Right? Because I don't think that this will be a harmonious society that you guys seem to think it will be. Have we not seen? Have we not watched science fiction films? Has the Walking Dead not taught us anything about what it would be like in a world full of where there's no law, there's no governance? Maybe I've just watched too many sci-fi films and zombie films and post-apocalyptic films and anarchy films and The Purge, etc., etc. It sounds like an utter nightmare, this world that Lordness has crafted in his mind. Hakima, you would want to live in such a society?
I mean, we live in one right now where a certain group of people can do what they want to do to other people. I'm not talking about racially. I'm talking about as far as the government. They can do whatever they want to do right now. There is anarchy right now. Just that we're not participating.
Plato had some interesting thoughts on this, on essentially every man does what's right.
But like even a movie like the show like Walking Dead, most people was trying to do the right thing. Most people was creating community. You had a few bad apples, but they run through every now and then. But most people was trying to. Everybody was not just savage.
Before serendipity goes, I was going to say, Nye, fun fact, sounds like you're a Walking Dead fan. They did a voiceover for one of the characters for the video game. Unfortunately, my character got killed off early, but it was fun.
Oh, right on.
Moose, how much has AI destroyed voiceover work?
Not as much as you think, Mojo. Not as much as you think. I know that was actually one of the, as Nye knows pretty well, like the huge actors writer strike. Was that last year?
I think it was 2 years ago.
God, was that 2 years? Good Lord. Big part of the writing part was, and actually actors too, like having their images like an avatar, replicated by AI. But the bigger threat was not eliminating AI for writers, but limiting the use of AI in TV and movie writing. But let's keep it real. Some of the shows that are out there, you're like, AI might be better.
Maybe it was last year, Moose, the strike. I really don't remember now.
So, Moose, it would be a hilarious development. So this app, they partner with somebody to basically, they can take your voice and license it however they wish. Wouldn't it be crazy if something went super, just exploded, maybe like a Pixar film where they took voices from Clubhouse? What if your voice became the star of a major hit without your consent?
A major hit like John streaming multiple channel? Like, I don't equate major hit with Clubhouse, but do you mean like?
I mean that Paul is partnered with an AI company to give them the voices. Paul can, with this company, they can license our voices to do anything. They can repurpose it in any way they wish. It's part of the terms of service.
I don't think I see enough on here to even get noticed from Paul or those guys.
This is why they wanted the voice chat stuff, the voicemails, so they could isolate and make sure they had a fingerprint so they could know exactly whose voice was whose.
Yeah, Freddie Roosevelt and I did a room about a year ago or so. I'm sure some of y'all remember Freddie Roosevelt. And we talked about just that, using our voice and likeness on this app, because Freddie, when he was really active on this app, I had noted, Freddie, you have very specific lingo and slang, and he was commenting on how he would dip in and out of rooms, primarily white rooms, hosted by people who he never saw in his spaces, or at the very least, he didn't know that they frequented his spaces, and he would go in their rooms and hear them repeating his slangs and his slogans, but at the same time giving him credit. And I said, yeah, Freddie, don't be surprised one day if you're perusing the internet and you come across some AI model that was designed in your name, likeness, and image, and is speaking like you, using some of your catchphrases, because that is why this app is a social experiment, in my opinion, as we, most of us have discussed, in these spaces and similar spaces, to use our voices, to, study our voices to train AI models. So, yeah, Mojo, I agree with that.
Where did you guys fall on the writer's strike?
Oh boy, go ahead, Mojo.
I'm a weirdo. I feel there should be no AI at all in creative writing. I think it's okay for reporting. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you go to your streams, your news streams, whatever, on your phones or laptops, like it'll say story by, and they'll put someone's name, but if you actually, I've just been noticing far more grammatical errors in these stories. I think less and less of them are actually really being written by humans. I think there's just giving AI ChatGPT notes of the story and take it from there.
So this is my take on the whole writer's strike thing, is that if you're not a better writer than artificial intelligence, then you don't get the job. If I were looking for a story, if I wanted a screenplay to make a film out of, if you're a screenwriter and you can't write a better screenplay than AI, I think AI should take your job. Like, it should. In fact, I think it would be immoral to give the nod to the human if AI wrote the better story. Currently, we don't have that problem, despite how bad some of the writing is today. I think we're at an all-time low in terms of the writing of screenplay. Well, actually, I take that back. I think that there's great writers out there. In fact, I know there's great writers out there that just can't find the funding to do their projects. But if you can't sell the idea, and if the folks that are going to put the money behind the movie don't believe it's going to sell, they can be guilty of being wrong, but you need their money, and so you need to do a better job of selling that. And so I just think that because money is it's show business. It's a business. They want to make money. And as long as they're going to do that, I think this trend of going for existing IP where you have a built-in audience is going to continue. And the only way I see writers cracking into that would be through fan fiction, because you're going to see people continuing to go after existing IP. It's a vicious cycle, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I tested this theory one day. I've been working on the script for a while, and I plugged in the outline to ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT. Now, I had already written the first act, but I asked ChatGPT to, after I fed the outline to it, I asked it to write the first maybe 10 pages, just to see, compare its dialogue to my dialogue, and it was incredibly weak. What the prompt gave me, right? And so, of course, I've been in spaces where writers brag about, they love ChatGPT. It writes scripts for them. And then I'm wondering, well, how much do you have to go in there and tweak the script? Do you rely solely on what ChatGPT gave you? Or do you go in and tweak the script and the dialogue? Because, what I found is when ChatGPT spit out the first 10 pages, all the characters sound exactly alike. Then the argument is, okay, so ChatGPT writes your script. Do you take credit for it, or do you credit the AI? Now, I will say, as a writer, I do find ChatGPT or some of these other, Grok or Gemini, helpful in kind of streamlining outlines or beats, or even writing pitch decks, right? Kind of fleshing things out. But writing the full story or the full script, I agree. If you're not talented or creative enough to fully execute a 90-page or 160-page story, you're right. I agree. You don't get the job. If I were a producer, hiring a writer.
Agreed, Nye, and I think that's a problem, considering I enjoy some screenwriting too, and it's fair to say that the inciting incident, right, is typically the first 10, 20 pages. One page of script is translates to like a minute of action, more or less, on the screen. So if you're getting a lame duck in the beginning, like, you got to hook. At the end of the day, if you're doing the 3-arc, like beginning, middle, and end, most audiences will be more forgiving if the middle gets wonky, you have some plot holes, but you hook them. And you hook them in the beginning, and you give them a nice ending at the end, be it dramatic, happy, whatever. That's what they're going to remember. But yeah, if the first 10 pages and the first beginning of the script is not hook, and the inciting incident is weak, that's problematic.
Now, I will say this, Moose. I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you're familiar with the film Cube, franchise has just fallen off over the years. I'm really hoping that whatever studio or writer or producer owns the IP revives Q. In the meantime, I went into ChatGPT. I have like 3 or 4 ideas to continue the franchise. And I'm hoping through my resources and connections, I can get linked to whoever owns this IP to pitch them my ideas to continue the franchise. So I did plug in just, a log line or 2 into ChatGPT and asked it to flesh out what the next 5 films would look like. And I was thoroughly impressed with what it gave me because it was right on par with how I envisioned the franchise continuing. So in that regard, I found ChatGPT to be quite, satisfying as a creative. And, I copied and saved what it gave me, and I added it to my kind of little collection of franchises that I want to see continue. So I've been putting out to the universe, I have two visions here. One, to write at least 1 episode for Doctor Who, which I have a pilot script for. Well, not necessarily a pilot. Maybe a pilot for a new season. And to be involved with, hopefully, the continuation of Q. So we shall see if ChatGPT in that regard brings me some luck.
I think, what about the thread? I mean, isn't there as college students started writing papers using ChatGPT? Law students. It seems where do how do you censor? Can you write this or is it ChatGPT?
AI is also very good at finding plagiarism. Those apps have existed for quite some time. Now, if you really played with ChatGPT a lot and you were to get it rough draft and then you could start giving it different prompts like write it at a PhD level. Okay, now rewrite it at a 5th grade education level. Now rewrite it, and you can start doing these edits and rewrites, and then eventually what will happen is you can get it so far removed from what its original AI instincts were, and you could even give it examples of in the voice of, write it the way Andrew Dice Clay would write it the way that that Shakespeare would write it, and when you start doing that and playing with it, I think you can probably deceive some of these plagiarist things and pick up that it's I think they would have trouble picking that up. But most people are just lazy. They're just going to put in a prompt and whatever it spits out. The one that's pretty obvious is if you go to ChatGPT, it really likes it doesn't like commas as much as it likes dashes. And so when you see the double dash, you see it like that is a telltale sign because nobody writes like that. Nobody on planet Earth writes like that. It's almost like they bake that in as like a first line of defense to be able to see if somebody used ChatGPT or not.
That's interesting because I noticed even when you put it typing in the chat here on Clubhouse or in the email, where let's face it, autocorrect is was like ChatGPT in its diapers. With all the word suggestion, you start typing hey, Google started this, right? You get a message, you get an email from somebody. Google is reading the email message because it's offering you prompt, it's offering you a variety of prompts to just choose instead of having to actually use your own brain and use your own words. It'll be like, yeah, sounds great, thumbs up, or oh, sorry to hear that. But I've also noticed the one thing that stands out with autocorrect is commas and calling you out when you're not using commas appropriately. But that's probably the least of our worries with AI.
Yeah, so one of the outlets that I write for, we have a problem with AI there, and there's nothing we can do about it. Our IT team has told us, and the lawyer for the company has said there's nothing we can do. There is some sort of AI system being used by a company, and I think they traced it to Russia or Ukraine, I'm not sure, or Poland, where they're copying all of my articles, and I'm sure probably some other writers for this outlet, they're copying all of my articles and republishing them on their own website, as if they're writing it, as if I write for them. And my managing editor is furious, but there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. And it is an AI, it's not a human that is pulling the article and copying and pasting and republishing. No, we have determined that it is some sort of AI system that is scouring our site and pulling some of the best stories. And they just so happen to be most of my stories, since I'm the one that covers the entertainment news for this site. And so, yeah, it's pretty, I don't know, it's, dare I say, disturbing, but I guess this is what we have to deal with in this AI world, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Imitation's the highest form of flattery, but that's creepy, yeah.
So let me ask the question. Some of you are very concerned about AI. I'm just wondering, if you think we're already living in anarchy, I mean, is it, the person on the highway, expressway, who shoots you, or the person that stabs you on the train, or, what's more dangerous, society today in America or AI?
I think AI could be, AI as it stands right now is not dangerous, with the exception of some of these deep fakes, because it's getting hard to discern what's real and what's not real, especially if these deep fakes are used to damage someone's reputation or image. But I would like to think that the population is aware, especially if you're on the computer a lot, and you're aware of AI and deep fakes. I would like to think that people are able to use some kind of deductive skills to determine what's real and what's not. But as AI gets more savvy, it might get difficult to figure out what's real and fake, especially as it relates to news sources, right? In healthy debates earlier today, someone noted, what if in the near future there's a presidential campaign and someone uses a deep fake to destroy the image or reputation or the campaign of a presidential candidate they don't like, and it really impacts their voter base, or how the population resonates with that candidate. So that can definitely be dangerous.
And I don't know why you're talking about this in the future. I mean, our president held up a deep fake with MS-13 and deported a person with it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
This is
He also had a former president arrested by the FBI.
So I don't know, John. I mean, I don't think it's as dangerous now. I still think the person on the subway with the gun or the knife is more dangerous than AI, but I predict as AI advances and as these language models get more evolved, then I can see us living in a near future where the AI could be more dangerous than the criminal on the street ready to snatch you up.
I mean, in Chicago this weekend, 30 people were murdered by gunfire, 250 shot. It's like that every weekend. Why, as a society, do we tolerate that?
How do we not?
You could apprehend criminals.
Yeah, I blame our politicians, John. I think we just need to elect better officials. Listen, I live in Chicago, too. And the mayor down there, I live outside of Chicago. So the mayor down there, as you know, is just a disaster. So, in my opinion, it's just we have to elect better officials. And a lot of these liberals, I mean, look at California, for instance. I lived there for 20 years, but I got the hell out just in the nick of time. California has this, I don't know if it's still like this, but in some areas of California, you own a store, you just have to let them snatch and grab. You can't stop them, you can't apprehend them for stealing your shit, let them go. I remember that video that went viral where a store owner confronted Gavin Newsom about these laws, and he gave kind of a laissez-faire attitude about it. A lot of these Democratic-run cities, they want criminals on the street. They want to let them out of jail early. You can't afford bail. Oh, no problem. Just let them back on the street, right? So I think it really comes down to the elected officials. They want
Got it. So if Donald Trump takes over Washington, D.C., you're all for that, correct?
I mean, well, what do you mean take over? He's the president.
I'm saying that he gets rid of the mayor and he takes over the city security-wise. There's no more lawlessness. There's no more rampant homelessness. No more drug dealing. No more shootings. No more robberies. You know, he actually forms a security perimeter and takes care of the situation with force.
Yeah, I would have no problem with that.
And I hear you, and I hear your frustration there, but I have to push back because, so yeah, the mayor meets with, you know, generally most police chiefs, right, have one boss. It's the mayor. But the mayor, of course, doesn't make any of the laws. In fact, it's actually far more up to the DA. DAs don't make laws, but they are the arbiter of enforcing what laws and what cases to pursue or not. Again, back to California, which is why even bleeding liberal heart San Francisco pulled their DA, did a recall because of the frustrations of the smash and grabs and such. So, you know, it's a bit hyperbolic to say like, oh, all these lefts, you know, runs, you know, mayoral cities that are leaning left are all for Wild Wild West, and like, you know, to each, you know, good luck, don't get killed. It's a little extreme because they are also, I mean, they're also, you know, like you have to look at the population. Like, you know, again, Chicago is a great example. Let me ask you this. Let's say if you had a Republican mayor in Chicago, how is a Republican mayor going to bring down, what are they averaging now? 500 homicides a year? Are you just going to add like 100,000 more cops? Like, what would a Republican mayor do differently?
Well, you know what? I sit here and I think about Indiana. I'll let you go, Hakima. Hakima, you tell me if you agree with this. Because, you know, I've told you I live quite close to the border of Indiana, which is a red state. Okay? And in my opinion, those boys in red, they don't play. I rarely hear about, I'm not saying that there's no crime in Indiana, but I feel like people know you don't go to Indiana with that BS, right? Because they're not going to put up with that N-word shit, okay? And I say N-word and it applies to everybody, black, white, that ratchet shit. So I'd like to think if there was a Republican mayor, or if Chicago was a red state, you know, red city, or if we were a red state, I would like to think that they would reel it in a little bit more.
But you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I'm all for it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm always fascinated. What would Republicans do differently? And I could care less who gets the job done. Nobody wants homicides, you know. But I mean, we're talking about cities like Chicago where cops know they're going to get shot at, right? Like,
that's not true. Cops don't know that. People are not shooting at cops in Chicago.
In Chicago?
In Chicago. Violence,
they are in Oakland.
Violence is down in Chicago. Murders are down in Chicago. But to Na's point about Indiana, Gary, Indiana is a violent place where they...
Well, Gary definitely is an exception. Sorry, go ahead.
East Chicago, Indiana. You know what I'm saying? Indianapolis, South Bend. There are several cities in Indiana that are violent where there's no answer to it. But like a lot of the problems in Chicago stem from Indiana.
That's the thing.
Because the people buy guns in Indiana and come right over the border and sell them. Because it's hard to buy guns in Illinois, particularly in Chicago. So all the guns are coming from Indiana. So they act like Indiana is like got some solution. They really don't.
Well, here's my thing. Let me tell you something about Chicago. Chicago is CCTV on every corner, and yet they can't solve one crime, right? Which is a big trick bag. I feel like Chicago, were they part of the defund the police narrative? I feel like if it was a Republican-ran city, we wouldn't have. And Hakima, I'm not saying every liberal leader in Chicago was about to fund the police, but there was that narrative at the height of George Floyd. You had some saying it. Just this past year, how many town hall meetings did we have of Chicago voters expressing their anger at the mayor and the governor over the immigration issue? I feel like if Republicans were in control, that wouldn't be a thing. We wouldn't and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Republicans are perfect because I don't identify as Republican, right? And I know, they I remember during Trump's last election how some of my family members were gravely impacted by some social services that were cut because of Republican leadership or Republican policies. Specifically, I have family members that have children who have disabilities, and some of those programs they relied on to help their children, and they lost access to some of those resources. But I just think as it relates to law and order, conservatives seem to be more pro-law and order than liberal leaders tend to be. And again, I'm not saying that applies to all liberal leaders.
Well, I would also say that it's hard to know what would really take place because in large cities you don't see Republicans as mayors. It would be interesting to see large cities ran by Republicans. We do have examples, a few examples of where this is true. You could go back to Rudy Giuliani, I think is probably the best example of what you're talking about, where better outcomes happen. But the challenges in a big city are just different than in the suburbs and different from rural communities. And I think it's interesting that, in a big city, you tend to see Democrats being favored. And in the rural areas, you definitely see the Republicans being favored. And then in the suburbs, that tends to be the most purple that you're going to get. And then depending on how close your suburb is to the big city, it might lean blue. And if your suburb is leaning more towards the rural area, it might lean a little more red. But that's the thing I think we should think about is instead of just thinking of red or blue or this state, that state, I think we should really hone in on the different policies that are necessary for governing. The wants, the needs of the people in these different areas are different. Yes, everybody wants to be safe, but the threats and the challenges that you're faced with, they're just different. And that's why I think we should more thoughtfully move towards what would be the best set of laws to govern a rural area. And by the way, not all rural areas are the same, and not all big cities are the same. We need to examine the unique challenges. There's a through line, though, if you have less tolerance for violent crime, you're going to see less violent crime. And the evidence of that is, a lot of people hate the 94 crime bill, and I think that there was definitely some mistakes made with it. But if you look at the facts that 1990, 1991, 1992, 1993, that 4-year period, the most violent period in American history outside of the Civil War. And so those violent crime rates were insane. In fact, today when people talk about crime rates, we're actually 50% lower than the highs that we saw in that 4-year period during the early 90s. And then the 94 crime bill comes, and then you see a steady decline ever since.
Giuliani had a plan, he's disgraced now, but he was called America's mayor maybe after 9/11. But he knew he couldn't do it by himself, and he organized the courts, the police, and other agencies and did it as a group effort. And people welcomed it. I mean, New York was as bad as it is now when he took over, and he made a profound change.
The biggest change was, and to be fair, I think he's New York's mayor. I think any mayor that happened to be in New York when 9/11 happened would be America's mayor. But his biggest impact was, I would actually love to see what the day-to-day violent crime before his watch and then under his watch, because I know his biggest impact was Rican, going after John Gotti and organized crime. Even just cleaning up, the mob was running, I believe it was the district. He cleaned that up. He was like the first mayor they really take up organized crime. I forgot what point in his career he completely lost his fucking mind, but just goes to show.
He did have a multifaceted approach, and I think that you could ask anyone who lived through that era, it was a profound change. It wasn't just statistics and maybe it happened.
So good stuff. Let me ask you something. You dream about this game? I do. Every night. Nightmares.
I think a lot of folks forget also that the cops can only do so much, right? It's like, oh, what's the cop? Look at morale of cops in some of these cities. Fine, let's keep the Democratic Maryland cities under the microscope. Morale is going to be low, right? Because you can lead the criminal to the jail, but you can't make him stay. That's up to the DA, who then has to deal with the judge, who has the power, of course, to release them on their own recognizance, release them on mercy, whatever it is. And that's why I always thought it amazing when you get those flyers to vote for your local judges coming up on elections, as if anyone really knows anything about most of these judges. There are some folks that do deep dives and will do a history of judges' records and show you in bold print how many known offenders they've let go for whatever reasons, politically or otherwise, to get reelected. But it's not all up to the cops in the street to get it done. That is for absolute sure.
And I don't know that this is the solution, but there are a fund of knowledge that thinks that appointed judges would be better than elected.
Appointed judges are better than elected. We should also not elect DAs and stuff, in my opinion. I think, when you get low enough in the chain of offices, I grew up in North Carolina, we elected the water commissioner. Nobody knows what the water commissioner is doing. You have to you should elect executives and a legislative body, and at some point, just because life is too busy, turn over that kind of oversight of the water commissioner to them. It makes a whole lot more sense.
So wait, I'm sorry, Brent. You said we should not. Who should be appointed, not elected?
He's talking, but this applies to a lot of lower offices. Pennsylvania's got a weird system where you have a lot of really low level positions that any other state would simply have appointed into a committee, and they would look for people that have knowledge, skill, or ability in a particular area. And but in Pennsylvania, you put yourself on the ballot, sometimes unopposed, you end up winning, and you know nothing about the job that you're about to do. I know about this because the Libertarian Party, when I was a part of it, we organized around that, and in one election got over 150 Libertarians elected. That was in 2021, and it exploited a few things. Number one, the major parties needed to declare their candidacy before the minor parties, so that you could find elections where there's only one opponent, or find elections where you're completely unopposed. And then once you get on the ballot, if the major parties, after that period is over, if they want to run, they would have to be a write-in, and then they're at a huge disadvantage. The other thing is the filing fees are very, very low in Pennsylvania, and so and then the final piece is just the fact of some of the low-level positions that you have. It just created a hell of a lot more openings, and so 150 elections won by Libertarians in 2021 alone.
Which I'd be happy to vote for a Libertarian, but probably you just need the best quality person to be a water commissioner that you can get, or whatever job it is. Some of the very, very, very low-level positions aren't partisan ideology, are based on your ideological thought. They are just blocking and tackling basic governance positions.
Brent, can I ask you a question? If you were made king of America or king of the world, what would you do for your people?
Create a system that maximizes economic prosperity and maximizes human freedom for things like violence. I think in big picture, we got a pretty good system that gets pretty close to that.
What's economic? Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, sorry, Fran. I would really, capital REALLY, educate them. That's not happening. It's just not happening.
So you think we have a pretty good system? Is $37 trillion in debt a pretty good system? If that was a business and you created $37 trillion in debt and created no savings for your citizens whatsoever, you think that's a pretty good system, huh, Brent?
Yeah, I think a system where per capita wealth is the highest the highest in human history, that we keep on expanding in long scale and expanding human lifespan. I think it's a pretty good system that we've developed in human history, and it is much more damaging to knock it all down than to not understand how lucky we are to be born and alive in 2025 versus an earlier period in history.
Well, what if you were able to participate in the economy from let's say 1870 to 1900? I would argue that was a pretty good time as well.
During periods where there was significant economic growth, but you'll always point to, because we were still a developing economy, that we had higher year GDP growth than we do now, which you see throughout the world in development economies, which we were that period.
It's the biggest expansion of an economy in the history of the world.
Yeah, if you have $1, it's a 100% growth. If you have $2, same effect with the economy. And like going from a relatively poor economy, industrializing and doubling that size, or having double-digit growth, is something you saw in America during that period, and frankly you see in many other developing economies. So it's nothing surprising. But let me finish one second. You're still much better off living in a period post that economic development and in the time we are living in.
Interesting. So post the economic growth of 1870 to 1900. So just so we're clear, the economic growth was possible because of massive deregulation. And so that allowed businesses to do what they needed to do in order to grow. And then following that period of time, we had massive restrictions that were put in place. And then shortly after that, come 1929, we have the biggest financial collapse. During this financial collapse, preceding that was a period of heavy regulations, and extending that depression was the fact that we doubled down on even more regulations. And so the evidence is very clear that if you want to grow the economy, you have to deregulate. If you want to crash an economy, you overregulate.
Hey, Roger, it's pretty ironic that you say the largest expansion was 1870, 1900, and that was when they freed the slaves, and those same people not only didn't get reparations, but they were excluded from that economy.
Well, so it's also evidence of the erroneous claim that this country was built on the free labor of slavery. It was actually more expensive to house and to feed human beings than it was to pay them, and so economically, slavery was a bad thing. We know that. Not only was it immoral, it was economically a bad thing, and so once they were freed and the market was deregulated, we were able to see a massive expansion in this country, and the quality of life went up for everyone.
And just to be clear, we had several periods of pretty sharp economic downturn in the 1880s, 1890s, and even the early 1900s. I believe we had a downturn in 07. So this period is also known as boom and bust period, where you have aggregate greater economic growth, which is not something uncommon. You see in industrializing economies, you see that actually over and over again. But you also had this period of with sharp economic downturns.
Yeah, the point stands that during that 30-year period, it's the biggest expansion of an economy in the history of mankind, period.
And I guess we're just disagreeing on the causal reason.
Well, so would you disagree that deregulation was a huge part of that?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so you think that you would have been able to do these the massive industrial advancements if you would have heavily regulated the market?
I wanted to be one of you. I wanted to join the brotherhood, but you sold me off like a slave. Do you know what she did to me? She dragged me down the bed. She stripped me naked. So all right so far.
Different regulatory schemes in the UK and Europe through this period, and you still saw massive economic growth.
That would have killed me. That was it. That day was a bunch of whinging about it. I'm not whinging. Your lips are moving.
Look, guys, I gotta go watch SummerSlam, so I'll talk to you guys later.
6 times and I'll hear him bitching about it. What's the matter with us, boy?
So, what shall we talk about, gang? Akima, what's on the docket?
Not sure. It's up to the room. Stay where we was at or move around.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but the new Final Destination movie is finally on HBO. If that's anybody's sport.
So it needs just to happen. But I think all these efforts are good because this market doesn't exist yet. Even you, right? Who makes the last decision on whether or not something is true or not?
Louis.
Who makes the final decision on whether or not something is true or
Do you
not?
agree with that statement?
Not manual. It needs to be in the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistics Manual, because it affects minds. Hello.
It's pure hatred.
Hello?
You have to
Are you okay?
Something good in this life to an extreme degree. You have to be kind of really dumb to get close to being anti-Semitic.
Fully said. And that's why sometimes I don't know, it really, I become so.
It's ignorance. It's ignorance more than anything. It's ignorance.
Really, I said it all sometimes when I reflect and I say, how did you escape Alpha? How did you escape?
It's just once you get exposure, that's it. You can't look back. You can't.
And people say to me many times, even on this application, people say, Alpha, you come on too strong. Yes, I have to. You have no idea what this indoctrination does to you. You have no idea. There were times, believe me, George, there were times I was sitting in front of the TV. There were times I was sitting in front of the TV and I would cry and say, what they're gonna do, what they're gonna do, they're gonna do. Believe me, this is how I